After watching this video, you will never blame every Ghanaian nurse for being a hookup or careless in her duty. The government is rather the problem. And if you are a nurse, I advise you not to watch this video because it will leave you in tears. Today, we are diving deep into the heartbreaking reality of what our hard-working nurses face in Ghana, from paying bribes just to get into nursing school, to waiting years without employment, and even struggling to survive while politicians continue to live in luxury. This is the untold truth behind why so many of our nurses lose passion for their jobs and turn to desperate measures. Stay tuned and make sure to subscribe, comment, and share your thoughts as we explore the painful side of the healthcare system in Ghana. Imagine you've just finished your nursing training. The excitement you once felt at the thought of helping the sick, caring for those in need, and becoming a respected member of society as a nurse has long faded away. Instead of the joy of stepping into your new role, you're met with a harsh and cold reality, a reality of corruption, frustration, and waiting. In Ghana, corruption seems to have taken root in every corner of life, and the healthcare sector is no exception. To even get into nursing school, you had to pay a bribe. A bribe. Not because you didn't deserve to be there, but because without paying, you wouldn't even get the chance to prove yourself. Your dedication, your hard work, and your dreams were not enough. Only money could open that door for you. And so, reluctantly, you paid. After years of studying and training, you believed that once you had completed your course, your career would finally begin. But instead of walking into a hospital or clinic as a proud, newly qualified nurse, you're left sitting at home. For months. For years. 4 long years pass before the government might even think of employing you. 4 years waiting for the chance to use the skills you spent so long perfecting. How do you survive during those years? If your parents are wealthy, perhaps they can support you. But what if they're not? What if your family is struggling, like so many others in Ghana? You're left to fend for yourself. You try to find a job, but all you can get is something that pays a mere 500 cedis per month, which is barely $30. That's not enough to cover food, let alone transportation. You find yourself in a cycle where you're working just to cover the cost of getting to work, with nothing left over to actually live on. And for many young, beautiful nurses, the sad and painful truth is that they turn to hookups or prostitution to make ends meet. It's heartbreaking and humiliating, but what other option is left when your government seems to have abandoned you? What's worse is that there's no end in sight. You don't know when or even if the government will employ you. It's only during election season that things change. The government, suddenly needing votes, rushes to employ the nurses who have been sitting at home for 4 or more years. But if you've only been waiting 3 years, 2 years, or 1 year? Tough luck. You'll have to keep waiting. Perhaps during the next election cycle your name will be called, but by then another 7 batches of graduates will be waiting behind you. It's a cruel system. And even when you finally get employed, the nightmare isn't over. Instead of being posted to a hospital near your home, you're sent to a distant region, far from everything and everyone you know. Imagine being sent to the other side of the country, where you don't even speak the local language. How can you feel comfortable in such a situation? But once again, there's a solution, another bribe. Pay the right people 5,000 cedis or more, and suddenly you'll be posted to a location close to home. The region you originally selected, which was conveniently overlooked, magically becomes available once the money is handed over. It doesn't end there. You've paid your way into nursing school. You've paid to get posted near your home. Now, ask yourself, how long will it take before you actually receive your first paycheck? 6 months. 6 long months of working without being paid. And after everything you've been through, how can you still have passion for the job? How can you care deeply about your work when the system has treated you so unfairly? Is it any wonder that many nurses become disillusioned, that they show little compassion when patients are suffering? The government has made them suffer for so long that it's hard to summon the energy to care for others. And then there's the debt. Most nurses find themselves in debt long before they've even started their careers. By the time they've paid off all the bribes and other expenses, it takes years to get back on their feet financially. So what happens? Many young nurses, along with other professionals, are fleeing the country. They're finding ways to leave Ghana, seeking a better life abroad. Europe, America, anywhere but here. They run away, not because they don't love their country, but because the country doesn't love them back. It's as though there's a hell in Ghana, and for many, that hell is hunger and poverty. They leave because staying in Ghana feels like a slow death. And while the youth struggle, the politicians continue to thrive. They live in luxury, growing richer every day as the people they claim to serve suffer more and more. The very people who are supposed to lead the country out of darkness are the ones perpetuating the corruption that's holding it back. They don't care about the nurses. They don't care about the doctors, the teachers, or the youth. They care about themselves and their wealth. When you see a nurse turning to prostitution or leaving the country, don't be too quick to judge. Don't blame her for trying to survive. This is the reality of the system we live in. And it's not just about nurses. It's about every young person in Ghana who has dreams and ambitions but finds themselves trapped in a country that doesn't give them the opportunities they deserve. Kwame Nkrumah, the great leader who fought so hard for Ghana's independence, would be heartbroken to see what his country has become. He envisioned a nation where everyone would have a fair chance, where people wouldn't have to bribe their way through life, and where hard work would be rewarded. But today, Ghana is a shadow of that dream. One day, if things don't change, Ghana will be left with only the elderly and the very poor. The strong, the young, and the ambitious will have fled, leaving behind a country that once held so much promise. The politicians will still be there, of course, still living in their mansions, driving their fancy cars, and making empty promises. But it's not too late. Ghana can rise again. The youth of today can demand change. We can stand up and say, enough is enough. We can push for a country where corruption is no longer the norm, where people don't have to pay bribes to get what they've rightfully earned, and where the government serves the people, not the other way around. So, if you're watching this from another part of Africa or anywhere in the world, and you think your country is more corrupt than Ghana, tell us about it. Maybe we can find hope in knowing we're not alone. Or maybe, just maybe, we'll find the strength to rise up together and demand something better for ourselves, our children, and the future of our nations. As you watch this video, remember to share your thoughts in the comments below. Tell us where you're watching from. And if you believe in a better future for Ghana and Africa as a whole, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Let's stand together and work toward a brighter tomorrow. One where we don't have to live in fear of corruption, where our hard work is rewarded, and where our children can grow up in a country that values them. Because Ghana, like every other nation on this continent, deserves better. The Bleeding Ghanaian, unveiling the struggles, inspiring the change.